Let me tell you a story. A dark wood, rain-soaked brush and branch. In the distance, a single yellow glow, the color of warmth, shelter. Munford Meech had killed his horse when its hoof slipped into a rabbit's den and could no longer walk. Thankfully, it wasn't his favorite, but now he was on foot and a long way from home. The light came from a wee cabin, perhaps a hunter's or woodsman. It didn't matter. Munford just hoped they would be hospitable, considering he had come for no good reason. He was soaked through, as was his musket flint, as the cow's knee had gone missing shortly after he had shot his ride. A small leather cover for just this type of miserable. He still had his knife, and took comfort in that as he neared the cabin door and raised his fist to knock. Edward Crindle stood 17 hands high and maybe 14 stone. Munford knew it was him who opened the door by the scar across his chin. More like a chunk was missing. Tale tells a bear took it, its ear hanging round his neck on a leather string. The window glow came from an oil lamp on a small wooden table. The cabin a single room, overheated by a pot-belly stove. The walls covered in patches of fabric, dainty flower patterns and bright colors. There was a single bed with a straw mattress, leather pillow, and a wool blanket, neatly made. On the stove was a bubbling pot of stew, a bowl of which he offered, along with a dry chunk of baking soda bread. Edward was no cook. The meat tough, vegetables soft, broth salty. Munford took note of a musket in the corner, a bow beside the door, arrows close, and a machete stuck into a chopping block on a low corner counter. Edward sat on the bed, sipping a strong coffee and staring with his notable cold eyes, the color of copper. Munford asked if he could stay until morning. Edward did not say no. He did ask what brought Munford through the wood this time of night, as visitors were rare, very rare. Munford tried to diffuse the tension he could feel with a brilliant lie that fell quite flat. He pulled a wineskin from his pack and offered spirits. This worked better as Edward downed his coffee and stretched out his empty cup. The two of them drank the skin dry, Edward telling tales of trapping and travels near and far, while Munford continued his lies, better made by fermented grapes. After many hours, Edward slumped back onto the bed, body heavy with drink. Munford stoked the fire one last time and waited for Edward's eyes to twitch and turn beneath his lids. When all was still, Munford removed the small swatch of fabric from his pocket, paled red with small yellow blooms, and searched the walls for one to match. The swatch given to him by a distraught woman who did not want to relinquish it. A mother grieving for her missing daughter and the rumors of the wood beast who steals them away. And there, beside the bed, freshly pasted, the beast's trophy, the same cloth. To Munford, it did not mean a child's demise. There was still hope. It was a sharp, heated spear of pain in the back of his thigh that snapped him from his thoughts. Edward's fist, white-knuckled around a burnished hilt, its blade buried in Munford's flesh. its tip poking out the front of his leg. A rotted grin on his face. The dagger must have been hidden in the bed. Edward twisted his wrist. Blood that was a trickle began to flow. Pain that was heated began to blind and cripple. In an instant, Munford's knife was out and in Edward's neck twice. The second time, bringing pulsing blood spurts. His artery was severed, Munford holding him down with his weight alone. For he was a much larger man. Edward twisted once more, before life ebbed from his face, the streams of red dwindling with his dying heartbeats, his hand slipping from its grip to dangle over the bedside. Munford yanked his knife free, wiped it clean on the bed cover, and returned it to its hidden sheath. He dare not remove the dagger from his leg, or bleed out much like Edward. As he stood, eyes on the beast, no more than a wicked man, he noticed his own blood upon the floor, and how its river stopped to drain beneath a board, a loose board, several loose boards. With knife back in hand, he pried the slats up. There, in a pit beneath, of damp dirt, roots, tethers, and gags, were the large green eyes a mother had told him about, and the long brown hair of an angel, whose nightmares would never stop.